I can just remember as far back as 10 or 11 years old, I wanted to be a part of something. My name is Tyrone Choice, grew up in Southeast Dallas, struggled with addictions from a young age. I started around 12, 13 years old, and eventually around 15, 16, got more involved with gangs, got more involved with drug usage. I started experimenting with cocaine and a little bit of heroin. By the age of 23, man, is my first trip to prison. Got out about a year and a half later, and the problem was still there. I started going in and out of jails, in and out of rehabs. And every day, every second of the day, I was obsessed with how I was gonna use. My family had given up hope on me. They couldn't have me living at their home like this. And so I became homeless. I would live in abandoned houses. I would sleep behind garbage cans. Drugs had robbed me of everything, and it took away my daughter. I totally lost contact with her. I just was living like an animal. It's pretty bad, man, when you're walking and people in the neighborhood in their homes would come out and give me glasses of water, and you know everybody, you grew up with all these people, but you find yourself without purpose and you're just walking around lost. You know every street, you know every corner, but you have nowhere to go. And that's how I lived for years. I wanted to die. I just didn't know how to do it. You know, after going to prison the third time, I knew that there was something that needed to change, but I just didn't know how. I was actually standing behind a dumpster, and it was nighttime, and I remember the peace that came over me, because I said, God, I would rather go back to prison than continue to go through this life like this. And I remember the brokenness, how I felt. And the next day, some people woke me up and they said, Ty, there's some guys dressed in army suits over here. I went over to them and I asked them, I said, you know, are y'all the cops? And they were like, no, we're not police, man. And I said, what are y'all doing here? And they said, well, we're just, we're doing service work for the Lord. We're just kind of cleaning up. And I immediately knew that it was a sign from God. They surrounded me and they began to pray for me. I got in that day, and my life has never been the same since. This program was extremely difficult for me. Getting up at 5:30 in the morning every day, having a routine, is something that I had been so separated from for so long. And I remember Sarge saying to me, we work as a team, and we would either fall together or we would stand together. It really opened my eyes up that we needed each other more than I thought we did. And that started to grow. That trust started to grow, and I began to have some respect towards myself again. We would sit in these classes and we would start to write out all this stuff, and then we would actually stand up and say it out loud in front of our peers. I had so much anger and so much distrust, so much rage inside of me that I almost had to use to cover up that feeling. I began to see what unforgiveness had done in my life, and God's still healing me in those areas. While I was here, I went through some tough times. Sometimes that inner healing, it hurts. But when you start to praise, it changes the way you view things. I love the fact that they give you the freedom here to express your creativity. Just to see 50 men praising God freely from all different ethnic backgrounds, and they're all on one accord just praising God. There's nothing more powerful than that. God bringing me here to the Men of Nehemiah has really given me the ability to take back some areas in my life that I think the enemy tried to destroy. I'm learning how to be a father to my daughter. And I'm learning how to be a man. When she needs something, she doesn't have to call my mother. She calls me. When you're near death, when you're right there next to death, and God picks you up and saves you, you can't imagine the way I feel inside whenever I sing and I think about what God has done, the goodness of God. When I think about all the things that I tried to do to myself and all the ways that God was loving me, man, I can't help but be emotional. I believe that God used the men of Nehemiah specifically for me. I personalized this ministry. This ministry was brought to Dallas to save me.